about to go on the Concorde tour. Oh, of course, yeah.
Which time tour are you? I know things have got absolutely chaotic after with various things. What time tour? 4:20. So, yeah, we are late, but not too bad considering what's been happening today. We had terrible problems early on with massive traffic jams, people trying to get in. And, the whole of one tour was 20 minutes late coming, so that's first. And then, of course, we got that torrential rain as well, so we couldn't put this out. Oh, that's been one of those days today. It really has, yeah. Right. Okay, so welcome to underneath Concorde. Concorde, in fact, is about the only aircraft, in fact, that you can do a whole tour like this underneath the aircraft, uninhindered. You can do that because of the length of the undercarriage legs. They're much longer than any other aircraft that are around. If you look across at the RGX, of course, you'd be on the hand and knees underneath that. It's not much different from any other plane on the airfield as well. Now, the reason that Concorde's legs are so much longer than anyone else's, of course, is it's to do with the way it comes into land. It comes into land at that high angle and something like that, so you have to have very long undercarriage legs in order to keep the back end of the plane off the ground. And of course, that's also the reason why the nose has to droop as well, because of the way it comes into land. You get the pilot sitting there, he has to bend the nose out of the way so he can see what's going on in front of him. And you can see there where it moves, you can see the curved line there, actually drifts down. Underneath there you can see the hinge area, the hinges on there, down there. So when it is going to droop, the first thing that happens is the visor slides away into the nose assembly. And then they will drop the nose assembly by 5 degrees for taxiing and for takeoff. And when it's for landing, they would drop it by, still more, they drop it by about 12 degrees when it's coming to land, because of course he's got to see more of the ground in front of him. He's got to see this on the runway that he's aiming for when he's trying to touch down. Right, just below the pilot's windows there, you can see the full stubby winglets, because it's called strakes, also known as moustaches as well. And they do have an aerodynamic purpose, those things. They help to give a bit of stability to the aircraft when it flies slowly at those high angles of attack. If they weren't there, the tail would have to be considerably taller in order to give the same degree of control and stability. and they also make a very useful reference point for us when we're moving back along the plane. We can look forward and see those strakes quite clearly and see just how far forward the pilot is of where we are and what it is we're talking about. Looking along the side of the fuselage there, you can see all sorts of things sticking out, little probes sticking out. There's all sensors for different cockpit instruments. Now, all aircraft have some of those sensors sticking out of them. I don't know if you've ever noticed them, but they'll have, to some degree, have some of those. Concorde has a lot more than most, because you can see when you get the flight deck, there's a lot more instruments than most as well. Now, when Concorde is flying supersonically, it's flying at its cruise. It's flying at about 60,000 feet. The outside air temperature is about minus 60 degrees centigrade. But the heating effect, Concorde travelling at that speed, it's about 1,350 miles an hour, Mark II. Causes the friction causes the surface of the aircraft to heat up. It heats up to such an extent that the very tip of the nose reaches temperatures of about 125 degrees centigrade. That's despite the outside air temperature being minus 60. And the body of the aircraft will reach temperatures of about 90 to 100 degrees centigrade as well. So the whole aircraft gets pretty hot. And so hot, in fact, that it causes it to expand. It would expand something like 6 to 8 inches in length when it's cruising supersonically. And you can't actually see that expansion when you're inside the aircraft. All the expansion joints, bar one, are hidden. The only one you can see is actually on the flight deck there, towards the rear of the engineer's flight panel. You see that when you actually go into the cockpit. You see the point. Obviously, you see the expansion, but it's on the ground. But you can see the expansion point, and you'll see a photo as well, something with a hand in the gap. Another effect, of course, it has is the windows when you're inside the aircraft. The windows, although they're small, they are triple glazed, but they will still feel warm to the touch when you fly inside the aircraft. Normally when you're flying on an aircraft, you see some ice crystals and things forming on the inside of the windows. Concorde will go through that stage when it's on its climb before it's supersonic. You will get the freezing area as well. You'll see the ice crystals, and then you get the heating area as well. So it goes through quite a temperature cycle of the body will take right from freezing right through to boiling point of water. So the Concorde
Take it for an airport, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's covered with a special white paint. It's a special type of white paint, because you imagine normal white paint just wouldn't last 5 minutes under those sort of conditions. You know, like temperature range and the expansion and contraction, it just wouldn't like. So it's got this very special white paint on to over there. And we just do views of it now. The nose wheel of the aircraft. And this is the one that's used for steering when the plane is taxiing. So if you look forward again to those little straight to the point of our radio, you can see how far forward the pilot is from the nose wheel. Looking down his cockpit, 35 feet from the wheel is like steering. So it's another little skill the pilots look to adopt. In fact, on most planes around here, in the IJets as well, the nose wheel is virtually underneath the pilot on most of the planes. The control 35 feet behind it. You see that there's a good example of that one there. It's about stepping down the cabin. See, it's open, it's a front down for These tyres will last for something like 120 landings before they have to be changed. And they've probably done the 120 landings. Although some of the wear on these is caused by bringing the aircraft over here. Because when they brought the aircraft over here, they had to take the fence down over there and then lay down some sort of army tank tracking over the grass to prevent it sinking in. And that sort of scuffed the tyres as well. So in fact, you'll see on one of the tyres there's in fact a hole in one of the tyres there. That's not how it flew in. just the scuffing of the across here.
Yeah.
And this tyres cost about £1,300 each, and the main one's about £1,800 each. These are the £230 increase pressure, the main ones are like £250 pressure. And you see this lady going around, it looks a bit like a wheel car. Now, the other two keep the wheel steady. In fact, a strain effect there. But what they're thinking about the next day for is a lot of strain and showing in the aircraft moving on the roadway. So this strain effect is designed to keep any strain away from the engine itself. Because of course the last thing you want when you try and take off tons of water is going into your engine. So again, on the main wheels there, you'll see there's a horizontal bar towards the base of the wheels there. That again is a strain effect on the main wheels. Also trying to keep that strain away from the engine. There's another one in the tail section, which I'll be able to show you the door for later. This fin-shaped thing here, this is a radio aerial here. There's quite a few radio aerials around the aircraft on various parts of the aircraft. And then these four circular things you've got here are radio altimeters. They're used to give a very precise reading of the height above the ground when the plane is coming into land. They're used for below about 2,000 feet. They bounce a radio signal down to the ground and then back up to the receivers to give a very precise indication of the height. Because the pilot is going to be something like 100 feet in front of the main wheels when it's coming into land, and also 30-40 feet above them as well. So he needs to know exactly where they are and length of the ground to give a smooth landing. And of course, if you're using the autopilot for landing as well, that needs precise information from the signal. And you also notice just up there, there's a kind of hot written on it. That's nothing particularly technical. That's just a drain from the wash basins in the toilet area and also in the galley areas. It's just a warning to the people on the ground to avoid that, just in case the stewardess decides to put a coffee pot down the sink down the back of your neck. That is the only thing that's actually straight to the outside world, because as you see there's an extra the toilet service there that has to be opened manually from the outside of the manually from the outside of the aircraft, and then a hose attached to actually drain those. So the days of blocks of blue ice falling out of the sky long gone. Okay, if we just move now towards the main wheels.
Wow. Michelin.
The main wheels, when they retract inwards, and there's two doors up here. You can see they go from there, the hinge in the middle here. They're up down towards the middle. So these main wheels, when they retract, just retract inwards. But if they were to just straight retract inwards, they're too long, they would hit. So in fact, we have to actually shorten them at first there before they actually start folding in. So they would shorten them and then fold up and tuck away in these doors here. Now, Concorde was one of the first aircraft in fact to use carbon fibre disc brakes, and you know from your car when you use those they get warm. The Concorde, with the weight of it, the speed of it, the size of it, they get a bit more than warm. They reach temperatures of something like 300 degrees centigrade on landing. So to assist the cooling, inside there you have an electric fan to assist the cooling of the engines. And in the case of an aborted takeoff, of course the plane is heavier and it's also going a bit faster because it lands at 190 miles an hour, takes off at 250 miles an hour. So on takeoff, an aborted takeoff, it's faster and heavier plane. So it takes about an hour for the brakes to cool down sufficiently for it to be able to attempt another takeoff.
Wow.
The ram assembly. And this is a very important part of what makes Concorde work. It's jet engines don't like the engine now. It's not just the behaving of the engine faster than speed sound. So when Concorde is cruising at twice the speed of sound, you've obviously got a bit of a problem there. You've got to slow the air down before it activates the engine. So that's what the tram assembly is trying to do. You see these flaps with changeovers on them. They move under computer control at different stages of the flight, and they all move different degrees. You can see the marks on the side as to where they move. The back end will move down. You can see the marks on the side for where they move. The effect these have is to set up a whole series of shock waves across the opening of this ramp assembly. So, and the air is coming in, it hits these shock waves, it's slowed down. It also has the effect of compressing the air. And as you know from bicycle pump principles, if you compress the air, it also warms it up as well. The bicycle pump will get hot. So the air is warmed, is slowed down, compressed, and warmed up. So it gets in just the right sort of conditions that the engine likes. So in fact, when it's in the supersonic cruise, over 50% of the efficiency of the engines comes from this ramp assembly here. Just slowing the air down. That goes to 50% of the efficiency of the engines. Now Concorde is one of the, well it is in fact the only civil airline that uses reheat or afterburners on it. That's when you inject fuel into the hot gases that are coming out of the engine. That fuel then catches fire from these hot gases and it gives a boost to the performance of the engines. It will give about another 25% improvement to the performance of the engines. Concorde uses that for about 1 minute on takeoff, and then for about another 10 minutes to get it through the sound barrier. Once it's got it through the sound barrier up to about 1.5 times the speed, 1.5 times the speed of sound, you're able to switch the reheat off, and then the ramp assembly will take over, and that is where the efficiency of the ramp assembly is. You can imagine using reheat, just spraying fuel like that to burn it, really uses the fuel up a lot.
Yeah.
Now Concorde, despite that, still uses fuel at the rate of an average of something like 100 gallons a minute. 100 gallons a minute. A heck of a lot, that. A lot faster you can even fill the fuel tank with it. 100 gallons a minute on average it uses fuel. Right, you can see here the
Boy Concorde.
Alright, you're alright. Yeah. Smelly.
Say goodbye to you. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Afternoon.
Welcome on board Concorde. In fact, Golf Bravo Oscar Alpha Charlie, which was the flagship of the British Airways fleet. People often ask why was it the flagship. Well, it was because of the registration. And when these aircraft were ordered, there were still two state airlines in this country: British European Airways and British Overseas Airways Corporation.
Right, so there we are, that's the video of the day. Now here's some photographs taken initially of Concorde. They're in the order basically that we took them in the day. The latter ones of Concorde of when we were on the tour. And to be able to sit on Concorde, which only holds around about 100 passengers, in those beautiful leather seats which were brand new. This is the tragedy of it all. You know, the whole fleet were you know, sort of reinforced safety wise, Kevlar put in the wings and reupholstered with the finest leather seats, and then they withdrew it from service because of the Paris tragedy when the one crashed. And but that wasn't Concorde's fault. It was some debris on the runway, as it turned out. But its fate was sealed. And once again, the world doesn't see subsonic aircraft. But I believe, I just saw on the internet before I started editing this, that Airbus are planning to introduce, sorry, not a subsonic, a supersonic aircraft, so Concorde 2, by 2021. So we'll just see. Another, 5 years' time? We'll see if it indeed's flying, and let's hope it is. I know it's probably exclusive, but this country and France led the way because nobody else really were interested in supersonic flight. So there we are, that's inside Concorde. And apparently Michael Jackson, the Queen, they used to fly on that Alpha Charlie. This is the flagship, as the guy said on the video. There I am with the camcorder case. Now this was just before, a couple of months before we went on our absolutely fantastic holiday to Florida. So this trip to Manchester Airport really put us in the mood for the holiday, and we were flying Virgin Atlantic, so that was something else. I mean, what sort of luxury is that? Absolutely wonderful. Highly recommend them. So as I said, that was July, end of July 2005 when we went there, so we were getting excited. Look at all those. Where do you start with all those controls? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And apparently during flight, because the fuselage sort of alters during the Mach 2, there's a gap that is between the fuselage and the electronics. It's amazing. So in other words, it changes shape as it's flying through the air, you know. So it was a lovely day, and saw plenty of aircraft, and yeah, really really good, really well worth the visit. There's Sam. It's a jumbo jet. Our favourite plane, the 747. Amazing. I mean, the Airbus is bigger, but it's not as nice as a jumbo. Right. Thanks for watching, as it says. See you next time. Bye for now.